Welcome back. Well, the vaccine's being rolled out across the country. Many anxious to roll up their sleeves to get the jab. There are concerns that employers could make the vaccine for COVID-19 mandatory for return to work. Howard Levitt joins me now, employment and labor relations lawyer. Howard, great to see you.
Thank you for having me.
So what are you hearing here from the grapevine in terms of employers versus employee rights when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine? I mean, this is such a critical time for so many.
Well, I guess I'm the grapevine because I'm not hearing anything from the grapevine, but I can tell you what the law is, which is why you're having me. So let me tell you what the law is in my view. Right now, as we sit here, employers who work with vulnerable population could absolutely require their employees to take the vaccine, people working in long care homes or people working in hospitals. But as it rolls out, it's more readily available. And in that context, public health officials go on and say, we recommend it. That in my view, the courts will allow employers to require all employees who work with anyone, whether it's members of the public, co-workers, or anybody else, as opposed to be working from home, to take the vaccine as the term of their employment and fire them if they don't.
What about the rights of the employee then? What if the employee says, well, no, I don't want to take the vaccine. I'm concerned about the effects, et cetera. Or what if you have an employee that has an allergy and is recommended to not take the vaccine, for example?
Well, the only exception will be accommodations, whether it's a religious accommodation, if such a thing exists in this context, or a physical disability. If they're afraid they're going to get a minor reaction, I don't think that's going to be enough. If it's a serious disability that's going to be significantly impacted by taking the vaccine, and they can medically prove that, then that would be an exemption. But they're going to be few and far between.
How is this going to change things? Because, again, we're still well into this pandemic. The second wave, we're deep into it. It's going to be quite some time before we feel that we're really seeing that bright light at the end of the tunnel. How do you think this is going to change things in the workplace? Dramatically.
Employers are going to say, I think a lot of employers are not happy with their workers working from home. And those employers are going to say, there's a vaccine now, everyone has to get it, and then you have to come back to the office. And the employees who are happily working from home and think they're more productive than ever before are going to rebel against that. And there's going to be a real tug of war between employers and employees. But as far as the law is concerned, the law is in favor of the employer who can force them back to the office and force them to take the vaccine once public health says it's recommended.
Right.
And at that point, of course, there'll be enough tests, enough history that there won't be much of a concern of side effects.
Is there, and you mentioned there long-term care homes, do you think there is going to be sort of almost at least a mandatory list that's going to say if you are in this type of job, food, long-term care, hospital, et cetera, it is automatically a mandatory requirement, whereas in other cases, it can be mandated, but they're not necessarily on that list, if you will?
Hard to say what the government's going to do with respect to long-term care homes, but I think good long-term care operators are going to want to be the employer of choice and the home of choice, so they're going to mandate it. So I suspect we're going to see, especially the privately run long-term care homes and retirement homes, mandating it for all of their employees. And, it's going to be, people are going to walk with their feet. It's a little bit like right now, grocery stores, if you see people not wearing masks who are working there, customers aren't going to go to those grocery stores. Employers are going to say, we're all vaccinated here, have no fear.
Right.
And that's going to be a selling point.
There you go. All right, we'll keep a close eye on things. Howard Levitt, employment and labor relations lawyer. Always a pleasure. Howard, we wish you and your family well.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break here on CTV News Channel. We'll be right back.